Hi, everyone. This is Community Chats on June 4th of 2026. Maybe one day they're going to see this and think, oh, what year was that? Oh, my gosh. It's like 100 years later. Who knows with technology where we're going to end. But anyway, my name is Sandra Arevalo, and I'm the Director of Community Health at Montefiore Nyack Hospital in Nyack, New York. And today we're here with Stephanie Rosenhall. We are going to be talking about CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation. I just said it wrong, but now I said it right. So this is great to have you with us, and it's obviously a true pleasure, Stephanie, for you to have you here. Thank you for your time, and thank you for everything you do to help save people's lives. And how did you get into this, Stephanie? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me here today. It's a pleasure, and I love working with the community, sharing information, empowering each other, because that's really what it's all about. Whether we know each other individually or we know someone's sibling or we know someone's child, we're all connected somehow. So I began my company, Prepared for Life. I'm the owner of Prepared for Life, which is an American Heart Association training site right here in Rockland County, because my mission was really to reach and help as many people as possible. So many people are afraid of learning CPR. There's so many fears, there's so many stigmas behind it. And I really wanted to break down those barriers and help people to feel more comfortable to make a difference. My husband's uncle was the vice president of American Heart Association, the Eastern Regional Division, for a long time. And the reality is, I have two children of my own. I'm happily married for 18 years. We just celebrated our 18th anniversary 2 weeks ago. And when my daughter was born, I went through a really bad postpartum. Which is also something else that people don't really talk about in society. But I went into a really dark place for a while. And when I finally came out of it, I wanted to help to make a difference, whether it was within that facet or something else. I wanted to make a difference somehow. And I started spending more time with my husband's uncle and just family in general. And he introduced me to, I had taken CPR before and had been certified before, but he had introduced me to a whole different aspect of the American heart. And I really just fell in love with that empowerment. I started working with a few other companies. I started kind of tagging along with him, learning how to teach and began to instruct. And then some of the companies that I had worked with were more so about just getting through the class. There's a lot of different components that go into learning CPR. You can take a class, anyone can teach a class in anything as long as you get your certifications and you go through the courses, but it's how you teach and what your end goal is. We have some good teachers, we have some bad teachers. My whole goal and mission has been to help people to feel confident and empowered. So I decided 8 years ago to start Prepared for Life and have been just loving every minute of it and hopefully making a difference. And I've been hearing that from, I've taught thousands of people by this point, and it's absolutely incredible. And the most rewarding thing out of it is when I get that phone call or that email or that text from someone that took a class, whether it was a couple of weeks ago or a couple of years ago, saying that they just helped to save someone's life, or they just stepped in and they weren't afraid to help to try.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. So if you'd like, basically my purpose here today is to help to get rid of the stigma and the fear of learning CPR and to help to engage people on the importance of it. Um, the
And
majority of, yeah.
and Stephanie, you just said that a lot of people are scared of either learning CPR or even more doing CPR. Why is that in your experience? Why do you think that is?
Oh, it depends. There's a lot of different things. People are afraid that they're going to hurt someone.
Mm-hmm.
People are afraid that they're going to do something wrong. People are afraid that they're going to make the situation worse. People are afraid that they're going to get sued. Um, and everyone should know that there is something called the Good Samaritan Law. Everyone is protected in all 50 states. As long as you're acting out of good faith to help to make a difference, you are protected. The worst thing someone can do when someone is in cardiac arrest, and we're going to discuss exactly what cardiac arrest is and the difference of cardiac arrest and heart attacks. But the worst thing that someone can do is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when someone's heart has stopped, that can't heal on its own. That's not going to just magically start on its own. And as wonderful as first responders and EMTs are, and the paramedics, it generally takes a few minutes for them to show up. So the best thing that we can possibly do is begin CPR immediately, because those first few minutes are so crucial. And the reality is, it doesn't get worse than death.
Mm-hmm.
And to make it worse. So doing something is the best option.
But how do we know that the person needs CPR? Like I see somebody falling down, but I don't know. If I'm not a doctor, especially, or a nurse, then I'm not gonna know if the person really needs CPR or is something else that the person has. Maybe the person is drunk or something, and now here I am trying to give CPR to
Absolutely.
someone without knowing. So how do you know when a person needs CPR?
No, and that's a wonderful question, and that's also what can intimidate people because they're afraid of going near someone. So there is a protocol that we follow, and that's why it is really important to take a class. But whenever you see a victim that's laying down, you are going to check for a response. You're going to tap on their shoulders. You're going to, speak really loudly. You're going to try to see if they are responsive. And signs of responsiveness would be any kind of movement, any voluntary responses, movements, speech, eye blinking, things that we do to show that we are responsive. We're going to look for breathing. And if we don't see that, we're going to begin compressions. We want to call 911 as quickly as possible, and then we're going to begin compressions. And keep in mind, and I hope everyone that's listening right now understands that even if the person does not need CPR, you're not going to kill them from doing compressions. Compressions will not kill somebody. The worst option is that, let's say they did need it and you hesitated and waited. If you started and they didn't need it, you're not going to kill them. So keep that in mind. There's clearly something wrong. If we're checking for a response and there's no response and we don't believe that they're breathing, something is clearly wrong. If we begin compressions and they wake up, guess what? You're incredible, right? They woke up. If they got hurt along the way, it's okay. As I said in the beginning, you're protected under the Good Samaritan law. It's okay. You're acting out of good faith. So don't let that be a hesitation for you. Every minute that passes that the person does not receive either compressions or the use of an automated external defibrillator, which I can discuss what that is as well. Every minute that passes, their chance of surviving drops up to 10%. And if we think about that, even in a wonderful area, in Rockland County, where there's a lot of firefighters, there's, fire stations, there's a lot of ambulance corps. Most of them are volunteer, not all of them, but it on average takes a few minutes for them to show up. So if we're going to say about 4 to 5 minutes in a good situation, it takes for the paramedics or the first responders to show up. And if that individual's chance of surviving drops up to 10% every minute, if we just sit there and we wait and we do nothing, their chance of surviving has now dropped up to 40 or 50%. We all get fearful. We all hesitate. We all just pause in our tracks. But the most important thing, and what I really try to instill upon people, is just taking that deep breath and taking a step forward and beginning, trying to do something, because the odds of 40 or 50% chance of them not surviving, if this is one of my loved ones, I am not taking that chance. Do something. Something is always better than nothing, which is why it's so important to learn about CPR and how to administer compressions and to get over the fear of doing so. Because we all hesitate, we all get fearful, we're all afraid. And, we all respond differently in emergencies. We might think we respond one way, but once you're actually faced with that emergency, totally different. And depending on who that victim is, right? If this is your spouse or your parent or your child, God forbid, in comparison to a stranger or a coworker, we never know how we're going to respond. So the best thing that we can do is at least, kind of like insurance, just have it with you, have the tools, have the knowledge. So if you need to act, you can go ahead and do something. Because whether it's your loved one, this is clearly someone's loved one. And I know we all would want to make sure that someone in that room would be ready to act, would be ready to do something. So I'm here to say, why not be you? There's no reason that we should stop, and pause and hope that someone else does it. We can all make a difference. And this is the beautiful thing with CPR also. It doesn't matter who you are, where you came from, what you look like. Nothing matters. We all can help to make a difference. Whether you have two hands or one hand or no hands. Learning CPR, we can either perform it or we can help engage someone else to perform it. We can all help each other. And it's an incredible, incredible skill to have.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned two things that I want to follow up on. One is injuries. You said sometimes, we might injure somebody. So I would like to know, like, what type of injury? And you said it already, like, nothing can get worse than dead. So we're not going to kill anybody. We're going to try to help. We're going to resuscitate them, not kill them. But I still would like to know, for our public to know, when you say injuries, what kind of injuries? And then I'll tell you my second question afterwards.
Absolutely. Yeah, so there is a possibility that you can crack someone's ribs. You may break someone's ribs, but broken ribs can heal. All right. My mother, who is 81 years old, and I can tell you is as spry as a 40-year-old, absolute incredible, the sunshine in my life. She is very active, and she took a hard fall about a month and a half ago, and she broke a rib. And you know what? She's okay. She is healing. She's almost fully healed, because broken ribs can heal.
Mhm.
So anything that happens during the process can heal besides someone's heart that has stopped. There is a chance that we may puncture a lung. The reality is you probably wouldn't even know that. You might know you'll probably know if you crack some ribs. You might hear it, you might feel it. You might think you're going too hard. You might think you're hurting that person. But again, that's a stigma. This person is unconscious and they are unresponsive. They are not feeling anything. The reality is we need to push hard. We need to push at least 2 inches through that rib cage to get to the heart. Because when we're doing CPR, we're compressing on the chest to squeeze out the blood from the heart to help with the circulation, to get to all the vital organs, to keep that person alive. So if we're pushing hard, there is a chance you might break a rib. Now, I'm not saying that you need to break a rib to be effective. And there are some people out there that say that. That is not true. But it can happen. Do not let the fear of hurting a person stop you, because more often than not, people have that fear and they don't push hard enough. So they never get through that rib cage to get to the heart. It's better to push a little bit harder than not hard enough. All right. There's also a stigma out there, and I want this to be known, or there's a fear when the victim is a woman. People are afraid of putting their hands on a woman's chest. More women lose their lives in cardiac arrest than men. People are afraid of exposing a woman's chest. They're afraid of hurting them by pushing hard on their chest. And again, that is, you're not hurting them. This woman is someone's mother, someone's daughter, someone's sister. We are not embarrassing them. We are not hurting them. We are saving their lives. And the reality is, every woman has a different sized chest. You know, I speak very openly and honestly in all of my classes. It's easier if you can expose the chest, if you can get any of the undergarments out of the way, because we want, if someone has a larger chest, we want everything to be out of the way so we can find the location of where we need to do the compressions so we can push hard and fast. We have someone get the family away. We have someone get the crowd away. But our main mission, our main goal is to push hard and fast on the center of that chest to keep oxygenated blood circulating, right? And a lot of times, and this might have been what you were going to ask about, I don't know, or someone might have this question, but a lot of times with bystander CPR, we don't see the victim come to, right? And we doubt ourselves a lot. We question, am I doing this right? Could I have done something differently? Did I do this correctly? Did I do it wrong? Did I hurt them? Our main goal, we do not need to be medical professionals. We don't need to be a doctor. Anyone can perform CPR. Our main goal with bystander CPR is to keep oxygenated blood circulating, because that's keeping their body alive until the medical professionals can take over. By you doing that as an everyday, incredible human being, from just stepping in and doing compressions, you are keeping that person, their whole, their body alive, so that the medical professionals can use a manual defibrillator. They can administer different medications, and they're hopefully a lot more likely, they can double or triple their chances of surviving cardiac arrest because you kept them alive.
Mm-hmm. And yes, you tried answering my question and it was guided that way. But before that, we have a question from one of our attendees. Can you compress below the rib cage?
No, you don't want to compress below the rib cage. You want to compress right in the center of the chest, the lower half of the rib cage. Our heart is slightly to the left, so you want to have your hands on top of the rib cage to push down. If you're pushing below the rib cage, you're not going to be compressing the heart, and that's where we need to compress. So make sure, a great way to find it, the location, and everyone can feel on themselves, the lower half of the rib cage, there's a little hollow spot, which is called the xiphoid. It's right above the sternum. So that's where the heel of your hand is going to go on top of. And that's where you want to compress, not below the rib cage, directly on top of it.
My question also has to do with technique, because for as far as I know, you need two people to do CPR.
So teamwork always makes the dream work, right? That's what I tell my children all the time. But we're not always going to be that lucky that we have two people. So one person can make such an incredible difference. It doesn't matter if it's one person, two people, or three people. If there is more than one person, it's a lot more beneficial. But if we only have one person, we do everything that we can. We want to, as I said, we want to make sure that we compress hard and fast in the center of the chest. Our main goal, and you don't, I'll stress it again, you don't need to be a medical professional to administer compressions, but you want to go ahead and lean over the victim with having your elbows locked nice and straight, having your shoulders right over your hands. And, I know we see in a lot of these movies and a lot of the TV shows, and it's great because both of my children, who are now 13 and 16, they both have been certified. My son has been certified for a few years. My daughter's been certified for over a year now. They both, excuse me. I love watching movies and shows with them when we see the nurses or doctors doing compressions just like this on top. And they're like, Mom, that's not how you do compressions. I can't believe that that's what they're doing on TV. Yeah. I'm like, I know, and I love the fact that you know that that's wrong.
Yeah.
But you're never going to be able to push hard if you're just pushing through your hands. We want to be able to engage our core and use our body strength to get to the depth of 2 to 2.5 inches. And that's why taking a course is really very important because, and with me especially, I can only speak for Prepared for Life. I spend a lot of time to help make sure that people understand not so much what it feels like on the mannequins, because every body is different, and the mannequin is a relatively small person, so we don't get to experience different types of bodies. But what you do get to understand is what you need to feel like, where the strength is coming from within you, so that should you ever be in an emergency situation, you know how your body needs to perform. And we have muscle memory, so it's really, really important. But the strength is not coming from here, it's all coming from your core. Your body's like a pendulum, so you're pushing through your hip flexors and you're bending at the waist. Your arms are connected, but it's not coming through there at all. So even if the victim is a little bit larger than you, it's okay. I promise you, again, you can make a difference. It doesn't mean that we're going to be successful every time. And I don't want that to come across either, because we don't always know what pre-existing conditions the individual had. We also don't know always how long the individual has been unresponsive for. There are times that we enter a situation that they've already been down. But what I can promise you is that you're going to help to make a difference. Now, when I say that, what I mean by that is, even if the victim doesn't survive, there are a lot of people that are left with loved ones that pass from cardiac arrest because the victim was all by themselves and no one was there to help to step in, right? If at least you stepped in to help someone, or someone stepped in, you're giving that family closure and the understanding that it was their time.
Yeah.
Right? And that is a gift within itself. It's a harsh reality, but it really does help with the family.
Yeah. And Stephanie, you just mentioned your kids. How old can you be to start taking CPR classes and be CPR certified?
Well, there's a couple of different answers for that. So being certified, you need to be able to go through the class and be able to complete all the skills testing, which means doing compressions properly for an extended period of time, being able to do a full minute of hands only, being able to do a full cycle of 2 minutes. There's different skills, being able to administer breaths properly, using different types of personal protective equipment. So I have certified as young as 11 years old, believe it or not. Now, there's another class, though, that can be taken, and that's a family and friends course. And that is not a certification course, but that is a course for people that want to learn and to gain the knowledge, but don't necessarily have to perfect it. Well, let me choose my words wisely. There's no such thing as perfect skills. Nothing in this world is perfect, so I don't want to say perfect the skills, but being able to pass all the skills testing. So you can take a course and learn everything, even if you can't do it completely properly. When we're faced with true emergencies, also going through a course, as long as you're learning everything, when you're in a true emergency, our adrenaline goes through the roof. And that will also help to guide you, that maybe in a class setting, you weren't able to completely do the skills, but you might, we have superhuman strength when we are faced with true emergencies. You hear these stories of, I don't know, a while ago, something with a mom, her toddler was trapped under a car, but she wound up lifting the car. How do, no clue, because that is beyond human power. But we all are able to do things that we were never thought that we were capable of when we're faced with a true emergency. So whether you take a certification because it's needed for your occupation, or for even some people personally want to have that certification behind their name, it gives them more confidence to be able to act in an emergency. And I totally understand that. But you don't need to have a certification to step in and perform CPR. You are still protected under the Good Samaritan law, even if you're not certified, right? Anyone can administer CPR. Right. So I actually, and something that I love, just to kind of answer the rest of your question, I work with a lot of Girl Scout troops and Cub Scouts and do classes even as young as 7 and 8 years old, and bring in stuffed animals and talk about, helping them with understand exactly what CPR is and the steps and the protocol that they can do if ever, God forbid, mommy or daddy or grandma or grandpa or whoever the guardian is that's with them, that they know signs to check for and how to call 911 and understanding and knowing their address. Because as I said before, we can all do something. It doesn't matter how old, how young, there's always something that we can all do to help to make a difference.
Is there an instance that after giving CPR, the person is left, let's say, with massive physical damage or brain damage?
So, as far as brain damage, um, we brain damage can start to occur when we don't receive oxygen within 3 to 5 minutes, okay, which is terrifying. So if we have a drowning victim, or when someone goes typically into respiratory arrest rather than cardiac arrest, someone can go, someone that might be choking or an allergic reaction or asthma, drowning, as I just said. So their oxygen supply is cut off. And then in turn, they go unresponsive. It is imperative to get them oxygen to the brain. If we're only safe to do compressions, then that's what you want to do. And this is what I instill in all of my classes, that compressions are always going to be the safest and easiest option for you. But when we take a class, we learn how to administer breaths, but you have to make sure that it's a safe situation for you to do so. But when someone does go into respiratory arrest, their oxygen supply is cut off before their heart stops. So we really want to be able to administer breaths, which is why, again, learning CPR is so important. The first few minutes that someone goes into cardiac arrest, which typically, for someone that's older, is more so due to heart-related issues, their heart stops as well as their breathing stops at the same time. So oxygen is typically left in the bloodstream, which is why we want to begin with compressions as quickly as possible, because that continues that has that oxygenated blood circulating, keeping the brain and all the vital organs alive. But within a couple of minutes, that oxygen does begin to dissipate. And that's when we really want to make sure that we get oxygen circulating and get some oxygen into their bloodstream. And let me also let those that are here understand, I get asked quite often, well, when we're breathing into someone's mouth, when we exhale, don't we just exhale carbon dioxide? And the answer to that is no, right? When we breathe in, and this is really interesting because, unless you know this, that's a common misconception. We breathe in about 22% oxygen. If we're breathing out that breath directly into our victim's mouth, whether it's mouth to mouth or using personal protective equipment like a face mask or a pocket mask or a bag valve mask or whatever we have to be able to administer breath safely, when we're exhaling, we are giving them 17% of that oxygen, because we're not ingesting that breath. We're taking it in our mouth and directly blowing it into their mouth. So it is so beneficial.
Mm-hmm. And Stephanie, I think this is going to be our last question. Let's say that you go and you get trained and then you come home, you're very excited. Can you just start training or practicing on your kids, your neighbor, your spouse?
No, no, don't practice on anybody. When I say that you're not going to kill somebody from doing CPR, I mean that, but we don't want to practice on somebody. My best suggestion when people go home is I say, it's great to continue to practice so that you can remember what your body feels like. You can go straight onto leaning over your bed or over your couch or using a giant stuffed animal or a pillow just to, again, reinforce the strength coming from your core. So you remember what your body feels like. When you come to a class, that's when you can really understand when you're performing on a mannequin, you understand the strength that's needed behind it and how hard it is to push 2 to 2.5 inches deep. But when you go home, just remembering the muscle memory. I get very, very often when I go over with people that are just learning, or even people that are refreshing themselves, because you should get a refresher course every 2 years, unless you are doing this on a regular basis, which most people are not, thank goodness. Unless you are doing this on a regular basis, we forget. And it's okay to forget. That's why get yourself refreshed. But when you're in class, you really get to understand how hard you have to push and how much you need to engage your body to be able to administer compressions properly and safely. When you go home, you can continue that feeling within you, but having the hands-on is really, really important in a class setting.
Okay.
Please do
Pillows,
not
not
practice on anyone.
spouses. Okay, that's very good to know, actually, because people can get very excited and be like, okay, honey, let me try this on you. So we don't wanna do that.
No, no.
Okay. And now this is really the last question.
No, this is
Because
great.
if you are CPR certified or you take a class, are you mandated to stop in case of an accident like doctors do?
Say that again.
Like if you're CPR certified or if you take a class, are you mandated to stop in the case of an accident or something like that? Do you
Oh,
must you stop to help?
um, I wish that was the case, but no, you are not mandated. You do not have to help anybody. Um, you are certified, and it shows the state and it shows the country that you have completed the course, but you are never mandated to help someone. Um, it's unfortunate in this country that people don't have to help anybody.
Mm,
And that there's a lot of European countries that it's actually you are forced to get your CPR certification before you can get your driver's license.
mm,
And I wish that was the case in this country. But in this country, you can videotape someone, you can walk right by them, you can stand around. And unfortunately, I have had many people come to me with different situations like this of people just, they saw someone, an example, someone was in Target at the Palisades Mall. And this was a little while back, but there was a long line and someone just collapsed on the line and everyone stood there and no one did anything. They called 911. It took them a while to get there. The person passed because nobody did anything. So you are not mandated. But I highly encourage you, if you see someone and you have the skills, even if you don't have the skills, keep in the back of your mind, would you want someone to step in if this was your loved one?
mhm.
Because I know I would. If you can help to make a difference, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Not in a situation that's not safe. Like if there's a burning building and you're driving by, if you are not a volunteer firefighter or a professional firefighter, please do not go into a burning building. You stop, you call 911. If you hear gunshots, please do not go and run to look to see who you can help. If there's oncoming traffic, you need to make sure that you are safe in every situation. So your safety has to always come first. But if you can help to make a difference, I ask you, why wouldn't you?
Mhm. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. I need to take my refresher course. I have to say, I used to do it every other year, and now for a couple of years I haven't done it. So I'm gonna do it. And I
Well,
want
I
to
would
know how
love to
many of
see.
our attendees today, you can raise your hand or something, because I would like to know how many people Stephanie has convinced that Okay, we have people saying, yeah, I need to take my refresher course too. Yes, yes. Okay, at least, you know, some of us are, it's good to be reminded that you need to do this and that you can save a life. And it doesn't take any equipment or anything, just, little training and the willingness to do good. Yes.
But that's why, again, I really stress that the focus that, I take with this always is about empowering each other. Because if you just take any class, and someone is yelling at you along the way, hey, if you're doing this, you got to, hurry up, go harder, go faster, go. That's not going to ever make someone want to help to step in. That's going to leave you feeling fearful. And when it comes to CPR, it's about finding your calmness. It's about being able to collect yourself and say to yourself, I can do this. I can help to make a difference. There's no greater gift in the world than that. Well, maybe besides giving birth, but.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, and thank you to all of our attendees. Next week on June 11, we're going to be talking about the power of energy healing. So we're going to learn about Reiki and the chakra system and more Oriental medicine techniques. So please join us next Tuesday. And to Stephanie and all of our attendees, thank you so, so much for being here. And thank you for doing that great. I don't want to call it job because it's not a job. That's really more like a call from the heart. So thank you for doing that here in Rockland, Stephanie. And if we need to reach you, because we need that refresher course, how do we get to you?
Absolutely. So again, my company is Prepared for Life. My website, and I don't know if we want to put it in the comments, is www.preparedforlifecpr.com, all spelled out. You can call. The number is 845-428-9496. You can call, you can text, and you can also always email at preparedforlifecpr@gmail.com. And I hold classes a couple of times a month at the Clarkstown Community Learning Center in Congers. But primarily what Prepared for Life does is go on site to offices, buildings, schools, different homes, and make it as easy and convenient for everyone as possible. Days, evenings, weekdays, weekends. The more people that understand and get the knowledge and the skills, the more people we can all help and work together.
Yeah, exactly. I'm one of them. So thanks to CPR, I'm still here now teaching CPR and the importance of CPR to others. So yes, you can do that too. Thank you so much, everyone. And I see you next Tuesday. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.